Have you ever felt that unexplainable sense of peace when you're alone in your space? Far from the noise, far from people, far from the constant motion of the world. Maybe you've been told that preferring solitude is wrong, that you should go out more, socialize, be part of the outside world. But what if your instinct to withdraw, your genuine desire to stay in, is actually deeply rooted in psychology? In this video, we're going to explore 6 profound truths about those who prefer the comfort of home, viewed through the lens of Carl Jung's analytical psychology. You'll discover that what society might call laziness or social dysfunction could actually be signs of inner transformation, self-realization, and authenticity. So before we dive in, take a moment to like this video, subscribe for more reflective content, and comment below. Does silence say more to you than 1,000 conversations? Let's begin at the beginning. Carl Jung was one of the first psychologists to explore the depths of the human psyche. He introduced the idea that each of us carries a unique psychic energy, a life force he called libido, not merely sexual, but the energy of thought, emotion, and attention. This energy, he argued, can either move outward as an extrovert's or inward as an introvert's. And this is where everything starts to make sense. If crowds drain you, if constant interaction leaves you feeling hollow, and if your room feels like therapy, you're not broken. You're simply wired differently. According to Jung, this inward orientation isn't a flaw, it's your nature. This brings us to the first truth. You direct your energy inward. While extroverts draw power from external interactions, introverts renew themselves in solitude. Being alone isn't hiding, it's grounding. It's not about escaping life, but about honoring how your energy works. Jung didn't see introversion as a condition to be cured. He saw it as a natural mode of being. Trying to live like an extrovert when you're not is like swimming upstream. It's exhausting, confusing, and ultimately unfulfilling. Your inner world is where you process, reflect, feel, and grow. You take time before you speak, observe before you act, and prefer meaningful thought over superficial noise. This inward pull isn't a flaw to fix, it's your compass. In the framework of Jungian psychology, this is vital to individuation, the process of becoming your most authentic self. Alone, you're not losing time, you're aligning with your soul. The second truth is this: you are highly sensitive to external stimuli. Jung believed that introverts have more permeable unconscious minds. What happens around them doesn't just pass by, it enters deeply and lingers. A trip to the mall might leave you overstimulated for hours. Lights, sounds, voices, smells, they don't just bounce off. They reverberate. This isn't hypersensitivity, it's structure. You filter experiences not with indifference but with intensity. You feel more, notice more, absorb more. That's why home becomes more than shelter. It becomes a filter, a sacred space where you decide what gets in. There, you can breathe, reflect, recalibrate. You don't hide from life, you protect your energy. Interestingly, those who stay home by choice are often the ones who are most present when they choose to go out. When you invest your time, you invest your soul. You don't act on autopilot, you act with intention. As Jung once said, the introverted soul is a fertile field. It needs stillness to grow, and sometimes the healthiest way to survive a chaotic world is to stay rooted in the soil of solitude. Still, you may wonder, if I understand all of this, why do I still feel out of place in groups? Why does socializing still feel like a burden, even with good people? Jung answers with a key concept: the inferior function. Each of us has dominant psychological functions, thinking, feeling, sensing, or intuiting, but also an inferior one that we struggle to use. When social interaction demands this weak function, it feels like walking on mental crutches. For many introverts, group settings force them into this inferior space. They must act outwardly when their soul is oriented inwardly. That's why you often feel emotionally prepared just to walk into a room. That's why conversations that flow for others feel like uphill battles to you. It's not social anxiety, it's psychological misalignment. It's being required to operate in terrain where you have little control. And according to Jung, when the inferior function is triggered, it can erupt as clumsiness, withdrawal, or emotional discomfort. But there's no shame in that. Understanding your limits is not weakness, it's wisdom. Choosing not to go out isn't always fear. Sometimes it's intuition. Sometimes not going is the most powerful way to show up for yourself. Have you ever laughed in a room, participated in a conversation, nodded along but felt entirely absent inside? Like your body is present, but your soul is somewhere else. That's the third truth. You crave authenticity. Jung famously said, loneliness does not come from being alone, but from being unable to communicate the things that seem important. For those who turn inward, surface-level interactions aren't enough. You need depth, honesty, meaning. Your mind isn't satisfied by small talk. Your heart yearns for realness. In shallow spaces, you vanish, not because people ignore you, but because they don't engage with the parts of you that matter. Home becomes the place where you don't have to pretend. There you're not performing, you're existing, and that's not selfish, it's sacred. It's how you preserve truth in a world obsessed with appearances. Being alone becomes a sanctuary. a way of choosing sincerity over showmanship. You don't fill your time just to avoid emptiness, you wait for meaning. And when the world outside can't give you that, you return to where it still exists. Within this isn't escape, it's alignment, and as Jung said, what you resist controls you, what you accept transforms you. So you accept your craving for authenticity. You listen to your soul's quiet plea for realness, and that is bravery. Asterisk, and if this touched your soul even in a whisper, subscribe to this channel. There's much more where that came from. And comment below, you belong here. In the first part of this journey, we explored why staying in isn't about fear or laziness, but about a profound inner orientation. Now, let's delve deeper into the delicate balance between solitude and the world, and the transformative process that Carl Jung called individuation, the path to becoming whole. Jung believed every human soul carries light and shadow, conscious and unconscious, strength and vulnerability. For those who prefer the quiet sanctuary of home, this internal dance is especially vivid. The world outside often feels overwhelming, chaotic rhythms that jar your spirit, incessant demands that drain your energy, and expectations that seem to ignore your natural pace. Yet the shadow side of solitude can sometimes creep in unnoticed. There is a fine line between healthy withdrawal and isolating yourself so deeply that the soul feels trapped rather than nurtured. Jung warned that overprotecting oneself in solitude can become a prison where fear, loneliness, and even despair take root. Recognizing this shadow is the first courageous step toward balance. Ask yourself, is my retreat a true refuge or a hiding place? Am I protecting my inner light, or am I avoiding growth that requires discomfort? Because true individuation isn't just about turning inward, it's about embracing both the inner and the outer worlds with honesty and courage. This journey means learning to re-engage with the world, not as a place to escape from, but as a space where your authentic self can shine, imperfect, vulnerable, and real. For introverts and homebodies, this can feel daunting. Social settings may still demand your inferior psychological function, those parts of your mind that feel awkward or unfamiliar. But each time you step into these spaces with awareness rather than obligation, you grow stronger. You build resilience, not by becoming someone else, but by showing up as yourself, in all your complexity. Jung taught us that individuation is not about perfection, it is about integration, weaving together your light and shadow, your strengths and your fears, your desire for solitude and your need for connection. And here lies another truth. For those who cherish their homes and their quiet, your connection with your inner world is profound and constant. You're not simply avoiding life, you're engaging with a universe inside yourself that holds wisdom, creativity, and meaning. While others may rush from one distraction to another, you create a sacred dialogue with your unconscious mind, where dreams, symbols, and intuition reside. This inner sanctuary is where your deepest questions find space to unfold, where your creative fire ignites, and where your soul whispers truths that the noise of the world often drowns out. To nurture this relationship with your inner world is to honor the essence of who you are. It is to respect the rhythm of your own heart, which may beat slower, softer, and more deliberately than the clamor outside. Carl Jung understood this rhythm as the unique pulse of the individual psyche, a tempo that cannot and should not be forced to match the world's demands. In honoring your own rhythm, you practice the greatest act of self-care, saying no to the relentless pressure to conform, and yes to the quiet power of your own presence. This leads us to our final truth. You respect your own pace. The modern world values speed, efficiency, and constant action. But the journey to wholeness is not a race, it's a patient unfolding, a gradual coming home to yourself. Jung believed that individuation happens in its own time, and that rushing this process only leads to fragmentation and exhaustion. Your choice to stay in, to step back, to recharge, isn't procrastination or weakness. It is wisdom. It is strength. It's a declaration that your well-being and authenticity matter more than external approval or societal expectations. So next time someone questions why you prefer your own company, why you choose silence over noise, or why you need time alone to feel whole, remember that you are honoring an ancient and profound truth. You are cultivating the soil from which your true self will bloom. If you find yourself struggling with the shadow side of solitude, feeling stuck, isolated, or disconnected, remember that reaching out for connection, even in small ways, is part of the journey too. Individuation is about balance, about weaving together the inner and outer worlds so that each enriches the other. You don't have to choose between being alone and being with others. You can find harmony in both. You are not alone in this path. Many walk it quietly, invisibly, yet powerfully. If this message resonates with you, please share this video with someone who might need to hear it. And if you want to continue exploring the depths of self-awareness, transformation, and the courage to live authentically, subscribe to the channel. Together we can honor the beauty of stillness, the power of inner exploration, and the journey toward becoming whole. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being you.